Hi, everybody. I am Missi Matthews, and welcome to our virtual Brady Bunch edition of the Steelers Free Agency Roundup. Joining me today, Bob Labriola from Steelers.com and Steelers Digest, former Steelers quarterback Bruce Gradkowski, and former Steelers linebacker Arthur Moats. So everybody say hi from your respective places. We have a lot to talk about. All right, let's jump right into it. We'll jump right into it. Eric Ebron officially signing this week a tight end. Something a lot of Steelers fans and Steelers media have said the Steelers needed more production from. So, Bruce, I'll start with you with this one because when I talked to Eric yesterday, he was very excited about talking to Big Ben, getting a chance to work with him. So what do you think about this pickup?
I love this signing because the Steelers need speed at that position and they need some threat downfield in the middle of the field. The Steelers, we were last in explosive play percentage last year. So I think what Ebron brings is fantastic to the offense. What Ben loves, that red zone type threat. You look how Ebron played back in 2018 with the franchise quarterback and Andrew Luck. And now he gets to team up with Ben Roethlisberger. Are you kidding me? So if I'm Ben, I'm throwing a party about this signing. And I think, same thing with Eric Ebron. I mean, he's got to be ecstatic to have another franchise quarterback, future Hall of Famer to play with. So I think it's going to be great for the offense, another dynamic piece and an explosive weapon. So I think it'll be a great addition to see this year.
Labs, anything to disagree with from what you've heard so far?
Well, I'm not going to disagree. I will emphasize two words: when healthy. It was a little bit of a gamble, I think, on the Steelers' part because of that. Ebron had the ankle injury last year that required surgery after the season. And so, you add him with another guy, Vance McDonald, who, again, I think can be described as the same way, a dynamic weapon, from the tight end spot when healthy. However, I think it was a gamble worth taking. The contract numbers aren't ridiculous. I do think that Eric Ebron, as you mentioned, Missy, and talking to him, is going to be very excited about playing with Ben Roethlisberger. And the other thing I like about it is really, in my mind, it eliminates the need to spend much draft capital at all on the tight end position. You have Vance McDonald and Eric Ebron. I think the Steelers still like Zach Gentry as a developmental guy. And, someone we're going to talk about here in a minute or two, Derek Watt, I think is a nice addition because he can also play H-back, also known as move tight end. And so I think that the Steelers have set them up pretty nicely at that position heading into the draft, where I'm not saying they're going to ignore it or they should, but they can if they want.
All right, Labs, you are setting me up beautifully here. Next on our free agent list to talk about is Derek Watt, TJ Watt's brother. 2 Watts now in Pittsburgh, and this was a 3-year deal for him coming from the Chargers. So, Arthur, we'll start with you on this one. What do you like about it? Derek Watt, even in speaking to the media, speaking to myself and Teresa Zavarli as well, said he knows special teams will be a big component.
Yeah, man, I think that the Derek Watt pickup was huge in terms of you are losing Tyler Matakadovich and you're losing Rosie Nix. So when you look at the productivity that both of those guys carry, Derek Watt is a guy who in his own right is extremely productive on special teams, a double-digit tackle guy, which is what we say separates the good guys from the elite guys in terms of special teams players. But then also he brings value on offense in terms of being able to be a fullback. He's been a part of some very productive backfields as well. So when you factor that in, you're hoping and banking on James Conner being healthy, so you're going to want to have some fullback sets out there with him. So the fact you're bringing in a productive player like Derek, I think is huge.
All right, and TJ did say Coach Tomlin called him the day before they let Derek Watt's agent know and said, are you okay with your brother coming here? Not that TJ was probably going to say no, but did get that respect call to make sure everything was okay. Moving on to Stefen Wisniewski, offensive lineman. Labs, because he went to Central Catholic, I'm going to let you go first and tell us what you like or don't like about this pickup.
Won a state championship at Central Catholic, too. Let me just point that out to the Seton LaSalle guy there sharing the screen with me. Bruce, it used to be called South Catholic. I am that old. I do remember that. But anyway, I think Stefen Wisniewski, again, I was a big BJ Finney fan. I liked him a lot. I thought that he was, versatile. He was a tough guy, team guy, all of that stuff. But saying all of that, I think, Wisniewski is a little bit of an upgrade. I mean, he was BJ had to enter the NFL as an undrafted rookie. Stefen Wisniewski was a second-round pick in terms of starting experience. It's not even comparable. I mean, Wisniewski has a lot more starting experience. He played on 2 Super Bowl teams. They won both of those games, so he has that going for him. And, you would look at a guy with the number of years that Stefen Wisniewski has in the NFL and think, wow, he's a lot older than BJ Finney, but that's really not the case. Wisniewski will play the 2020 season as a 31-year-old. BJ Finney will play the 2020 season, or most of it anyway, as a 29-year-old. And so, again, in my mind, it's a bit of an upgrade. Now the Steelers have options to replace Ramon Foster at left guard. They can go with someone who has started a bunch of games at left guard in the NFL in Wisniewski, or they can go back to what they did against the Rams in the 2019 regular season, move Filer over, and then have the 2-man competition at right tackle, between Zach Banner and Chuks Okorafor. And then you have, Wisniewski available to back up Pouncey, to back up Filer. And I'm sure, in a game, if it was necessary, he could go in at right guard and play some snaps there too.
All right, Bruce, since we're on the offensive line, we'll go to you next on this one.
Yeah, those were great points, and specifically because there's options, right? I mean, you have options on the offensive line. And it's unfortunate, and happy for Ramon Foster, but he's been a key piece of that offensive line for so long now. They've always had some great chemistry. So I was happy to see him go out on his time and retire. I was surprised BJ Finney wasn't brought back. I love the kid. I think we all remember his draft video. His not draft, but being able to get an opportunity was really cool. So you loved his story and his production and the type of kid he was. But I agree with you. I think this is an upgrade. I love Wisniewski's background and where he's been and his accomplishments throughout his career already. He started a lot of games, 2016, 2017, back-to-back seasons in the top 25 graded guard at PFF. He can play center. So they do have options. I love the way Filer plays and what he can bring. So I think they're going to be fine on the offensive line. They just have to gel together like they've done in the past. And, with Marquise Pouncey getting up in age and being that veteran leader, he could get them together and rally the troops. But I really do like this signing.
Arthur, what's your thoughts on this one?
Man, I think both Bruce and Labs hit it perfectly. The thing that keeps reoccurring right now is the competition element. Anytime you're able to bring competition to a position group, it's only going to make it better, because now if you're Matt Filer and you're moving to left guard, you can't just go in there and breathe and say, oh, this is a guarantee, this is my spot. No, you have to work and earn it every day. And bringing a guy like Stefen, who has that championship pedigree, who has a ton of starting experience, is only going to make those two guys have to battle out that much more. But also, if you're not comfortable with Zach Banner or Chuks Okorafor at the right tackle spot, well, now you don't feel that you have to move Matt. Matt could potentially stay there. So in all those things, man, the competition is the biggest element. And I think that's ultimately why the Steelers offensive line in particular are going to benefit from this pickup.
All right, not necessarily a free agent pickup, but a trade nonetheless with the Baltimore Ravens. The Steelers getting Chris Wormley. He is in his 3rd year out of Michigan, a 3rd-round draft pick. So for the trade, the Steelers got Wormley and a 2021 7th-round pick. They gave the Ravens a 2021 5th-round pick.
Yeah, I think it's just a good move by the Steelers. Hargrave, they didn't sign back, so now they replace and make moves to replace what they needed. Because, look, I don't think they're far off defensively. And like we see all the time, the Steelers don't make a ton of moves in free agency. They're very strategic in how they move and the players they sign and the tiny pieces that will help just elevate the rest of the team. So I like the signing. I liked what Hargrave brought to the Steelers as well. But sometimes that's the name of the game. You're not always able to sign your own players. But I like them, the Steelers, making the move to try to fill the need they just lost And I think defensively, though, they're pretty strong. So it's not like they need a bunch of pieces. So I think it's a solid move.
Okay, Labs, your thoughts?
Well, I think that one of the critical things here to keep in mind with the Steelers' defensive line is that defensive line coach Carl Dunbar likes to rotate players in and out of the game constantly, consistently. I mean, even early in a game when you wouldn't think, boy, does Cam really need a breather right now? Carl Dunbar likes to do that. He believes in keeping guys fresh for the fourth quarter of games and then for, the latter parts of the regular season. And so what you're doing by adding Chris Wormley is two things, again, in my mind, which are typical Steelers things in free agency. You're giving the coaches options and you're creating competition. Isaiah Buggs, sixth round pick last year, was a guy who, once Javon Hargrave left as an unrestricted free agent, it was assumed that, he was going to be a guy who was going to have to step up and, take some snaps in regular season games and not show a big drop off in play. Well, now with Wormley, you may not have to lean on Buggs as much. And you also send him a message, as Arthur was saying earlier, if you want your spot or you want a helmet on game day, you're going to have to show improvement and you're going to have to, be a consistent, versatile player. So the addition to me, again, is a solid one. I think that, he's a guy that, again, he would at least have some familiarity with Devin Bush. I don't know that they necessarily lined up together, but both
1
guys.
year.
I'm sorry?
They did 1 year.
Yeah. So, so there's that as well. Again, as Arthur pointed out, I would think that the Ravens, had they known that Michael Brockers' ankle was not going to pass their physical, they may not have traded Chris Wormley to the Steelers.
Kevin Colbert was speaking to the media this week, guys, as you know, and said the team is tight against the cap, which is usually the case, but they'll never close the door on free agency. They have signed 3 XFL players. Kevin said more of those types of players could be signed as well to get ready for that 90-man roster. So, of course, stay tuned to Steelers.com and the official Steelers app for all of your latest information. Thank you guys so much for Brady bunching it up with me today and talking a little Steelers football. It's good to see your faces. I kind of miss seeing everybody in person, but hopefully soon.